What'll you have? Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What'll you have?
Pabst Blue Ribbon. What'll you have? Pabst Blue Ribbon. Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
It's football time. Welcome to Pabst Interview, where we're going to talk about the greatest fantasy football league. Thank you, Scott Hansen, for that one. The greatest fantasy football league name. I am KO. I'm joined by the commish, Chad. Thank you for joining us.
I am looking forward to this. We have been running. I have been running a league of maniacs for 8 years now. So we did the first 5 year block of redraft, not redraft, but dynasty keeper league. A little bit of history on the league. I belligerently got called one of the members of a different dynasty league that I was in and threatened his life, and I was voted out of that league. However, the commissioner of that league and a few other people were like, hey man, if you want to start another league, we will join you. And that's what birthed Pabst Interference. Like KO said, Scott Hansen, not Chris Hansen, but one of the other guys in the league has met him. That's a whole other story. Loved our league name. So the history behind the league, it's been a 10-person league, 9 keepers every year, no kicker, no defense, as it should be done. We do a redraft, not a redraft, I keep saying redraft. We do a draft every year with the dropped players and the rookies from that year. Worked well, and then after 5 years, we kind of rebooted the league. Being in our second year of the third, or actually we're on our third year of the second 5-year set, we talked at the draft about moving to a dynasty league where we continue to go and go and go and go, and we're going to continue to roll over. So we're working on tweaking some rules. However, years pass. Great guys. A lot of Packer fans in this league. Myself as a Seahawks fan. We currently have Jay, who's a Vikings fan. Elvon, who is our token black guy, praise be, is a Cowboys fan. So it's great there. Just a little history on our league. Especially in the most recent history in this. We're going to focus on this 5-year segment. Nick Stumby, Old Man Winter in our league, took that first year and won. It was his first year in the Dynasty League in Pabst Interference. He was brought in after the first batch. But then last year, we're going to talk about Ryan Drews. Degenerate, belligerent. There's a lot of different adjectives you could use to describe him, but absolutely the heel of our fantasy football league. He plays it so well. He could have done it better than Hulk Hogan, Randy Orton, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson himself. So we dig into the league, and really the big thing to focus on is while he was the winner, Ryan only went 9-5 in the league. But digging into year's stats, all-time weekly high scores, Ryan hangs with 7 of the 10 highest weekly scores and also retains 4 of the highest scoring all-time players week to week with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. He had the ultimate stack with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase last year. It undoubtedly got him to the playoffs and won him the championship. Winteal Soldier. Ryan had a great team. We got 2 Ryans in the league. Ryan Teal went 12-2, but came up just short in the league, leaving Ryan to be the champion of the league. A lot of that is spewing, and a lot of the guys already know about that. But for the history buffs who will watch this show and down the road will learn to love it even more as the show grows. That is the history of our league as it stands right now. Pabst Interference, an amazing name, like we said. Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone loves it. One of the great guys in our league, Kyle Kolb, 3D digital printed us a trophy that we're working on and continue to make a stack like the Stanley Cup. Just a phenomenal group of guys. Love them each. Top to bottom, you got Ryan Drews, you got Ryan Teal, you got Kyle KO, you got Kyle Kolb, you got me, Chad the Commish, Elvon, Jay, Nick, Travis, and Ian, the Red Panda, on the back end of things. Typically on the back end of things when the league comes to it as well. Kyle, you've been with this for a long time, man. We've played in leagues before even this 8-year stint of the 5-year sets of Dynasty. You and I have played together for a long time. You've got a lot of knowledge on this league.
I do, and thankfully we have restarted this league because the first time we did this five, I was still a baby in the fantasy football world. I believe I took Aaron Rodgers in the third round that year because I was still a homeboy, and I pretty much screwed myself from day one. So I don't think I ever even came close. I might have made the playoffs in that first five stretch, but tough sledding. That
Yeah,
being said, hasn't gotten much. That's not true. The first year when Stumby won, I believe I was third. I don't remember. We'd have to go back and look, but I believe I made the playoffs and I made a run, but ultimately didn't get it done. This past year, I Christian McCaffrey. Everyone knows if you played fantasy football,
well,
I had
hold
Christian
on.
McCaffrey last year.
Hold on. Let's not jump right past it. How did this year go? Because I heard you did win something this year.
I did win. I won the toilet bowl. I was dead last in the rankings. I won the toilet bowl, which I believe, if for those of you that use the sleeper platform, the toilet bowl is the loser every week. It's not like a consolation bracket where you win. I literally lost the rest of the way out. Which, with Ash and Gente on the table, listen. I wasn't too upset about it after I was eliminated from the playoffs. So, but I do think, again, like you said, I have a lot of knowledge of this league. I've been here with a lot of these guys, and I love the passion that we get from all. I've never been in a fantasy football league where there's so much activity, there's so much trade, there's so much banter, and we talk about things that aren't fantasy football. That's what I love about this league is that we have this group chat that we've been talking. We talk about sports daily, and I talk daily. I call Ryan Drews the instigator because he will start talking about something, and then the rest of the group will just continue to talk about sports. And that's what I love about it. This is just a group of guys who absolutely love sports, and we want to play fantasy football, and it's great.
The texts on Sunday mornings, especially during football season, of that chuck roast going into the crock pot and him pouring himself a screwdriver. That is my favorite video to start a Sunday with. I don't care if you're a churchgoer, if you're a football fan, if you're not. Man, you see a beautiful chuck roast going to it in a crock pot and a screwdriver getting poured. There is nothing better to start your day. Oh, and when we get deep in the season, then he lights that fall scented candle. I mean, the
That's right. That's right.
he is a unique individual. We just had our draft 2 Sundays ago.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of him, we call him the degenerate. We call him all sorts of names. The heel, the instigator, everything. Such a good part of our league. The heart, I would almost say, of the league. He forgoed his fantasy football winnings last year
Mm-hmm.
to put towards the draft day party. So instead of brats and hamburgers, we ended up having porterhouses, garlic parmesan steak fries. Was lit, absolutely. And I don't want I try not to pat myself on the back, but you guys were patting it pretty hard for me. So
I'll patch your back for you, man. Those were some of the best that I've had in or out of a restaurant. That was incredible. The fries was not. You said you were making fries. I thought you threw some in the air fryer or some shit. You came out with the garlic, like holy yeah, man. That was above and beyond anything that I was expecting. Especially have never had a draft party where we sit down and eat with a fork and knife. Like that is not typical, but it was incredible. You absolutely should be patting yourself on the back.
I'm up. I mean, in all the leagues people have been in, and the guys can say counter. I'm a pretty good commish. I like to think.
I'd say so. I'd absolutely say so. You at least keep things tight.
So, rolling from that, the draft party, rolling out of last season's winners. So, as we talked about Kyle being the toilet bowl, one of one, also making moves for one of two. Kyle, talk to me about how you headed into the draft. I know you were pretty steadfast in what you were going with early on.
Yeah,
Give me your thoughts.
almost immediately. So a little bit of a backstory. At some point in the year, I still had Christian McCaffrey on my team. I had traded away my first round pick for this year to Travis. I then, while shopping my team away because I knew I was losing, I sent Travis Christian McCaffrey for my 101 back because I said, hey, man, if you want McCaffrey, that's fine. I want to go get Genty. So I got my 101 back. I then, during the offseason, shopped a little bit more. I don't remember what player specifically I sent away. I, yeah, I don't remember.
Travis moved Christian McCaffrey to me, and then
Yes.
Christian McCaffrey made his way back to you again. So after the
I traded
workshopping
away.
of everything you did, you ended up with the 1 of 1, the 1 of 2, and McCaffrey back.
Was that Garrett Wilson? No, it was Brees Hall and something. I can't remember, but yes, I got Christian McCaffrey back. Still had the 101, and I eventually got the 102 as well. So, and immediately I can guarantee this from the moment that I got the 102, I had it in my head. I'm going to Ashton Genty. I'm going to Marion Hampton. I knew that those were my first two. I thought those were the two studs of the draft. I like Tedoroa McMillan. I like Travis Hunter. Those were the two guys I had locked in. So that's how the draft started this year, with obviously all the keepers and everything left in there. DJ Moore was the other big name that wasn't kept that went in the first round. But other than that, it was mainly rookies that went after that. And I also didn't have a pick. I think I had my second round pick, 2 second round picks, and then nothing else after that.
It was exclusively rookies
Hmm.
in the first round.
Oh, wow. It
So
really was. Even
you
with
had
DJ
Ashton,
Moore on the table.
yeah, you had Genty, Omarion Hampton, Travis Hunter, Trayvon Henderson, and then McMillan went, RJ Harvey. I took a Ijbuka,
Emeka Ekbuka. Yep.
yeah, out of Ohio State, and then
Hmm.
we had Judkins, Matthew Golden, and then Keon Coleman. And then it wasn't
Second
on
year.
the turnaround. You ended up with Charbonnet going with the 2-2, Travis Etienne at 2-3, and DJ Moore not until the 2-5.
Hmm. Wow.
Which is the story of that is we talk about it. That player was traded away from Drews to me for picks because I needed a wide receiver. DJ Moore made his way to Teal for picks, then ended up back in the pool to be drafted by Ryan Drews in 205. Like the lost puppies always make their way back.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then, Colson Loveland, I grabbed Austin Eckler, Drake May went, Debo Samuel, Calvin Ridley,
I rolled,
that's what,
so that
that's,
second round to third round, I had 2 of 7, 2 8, 2 9, and then 3 1 with Drake May, Debo Samuel, Kyle Pitts. Probably burned a pick at 3-1. I don't know. I'm not sold. I'm not ready. I am a guy who will continue to draft and continue to get burned by a guy again and again. Like Michael Scott said, no doubt about it, I'm ready to be hurt again.
hmm yeah. And I came out of that, again, I grabbed Genty and Hampton, then I had Eckler and Ridley. 2 young guys, 2 old guys. That's the beauty. That's what I love about our league. You talked about earlier. You struggle calling it redraft and dynasty. It is a good combination of the both for me because we only keep 9 players, right? We get that rookie draft sensation, but there's also a good amount of guys who go back into the pool. Like we said, DJ Moore, who's probably going to be a top 24 wide receiver this year. You have guys like Debo Samuel, Calvin Ridley, Austin Eckler, who's going to be a starting running back, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Drake May, all these quarterbacks were available. Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, like that's what makes this draft so much more exciting than a rookie draft, in my opinion. But it keeps the continuity going with the 9 keepers on each league, right? Like Drews probably won't. I know he says that he's going to trade, Burrow or Chase for the right price. I don't see that happening. He's going to have those 2 at least for the next 2 years, and if we extend this forever.
So the big things coming out of the draft, I will say this much about Drews. He sticks by his guys. He is steadfast in that you're going to pay a big price. When I made the move last season to go for Amon-Ra St. Brown and in the off season, I was able to get him, but I think it costed. I would have to go back and look, but I think it costed me almost 3 first rounders or a second and 2 firsts with a player attached. So he will sell, but it will cost you. A couple things from the draft that I walk away with looking at. With the league being as stacked as it is with fantasy football quarterbacks, it's not a worry, but you walking away with one quarterback in your lineup, I was curious to see, because you're just carrying Lamar, right?
I drafted Fields as well.
That's right, you drafted Fields as well.
Yep.
The other one, this one is the one that really gets me. So Ian, we talked about Ian, aka the Red Panda. He waited until the 6th round, so 6-8, to take Pat Freiermuth, which is his starting tight end.
Was it really his starting tight end? He didn't keep anyone?
It is the only tight end on his team right now.
Wow.
You had guys go earlier than that. Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, Colson Loveland, Jake Ferguson, Isaiah Likely, David Njoku. You had Mason Taylor. Even right before that, Jonnu Smith. I drafted Jonnu Smith just so it pushed him even one more tight end down that he had to pick. So it landed with Pat Freiermuth as a starting tight end. Don't get me wrong, I get it. Tight ends at a certain point can kind of be your flex. However, Travis Kelce and George Kittle proved, and now Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, have proven that the right tight end in the right system can absolutely be a number one point scorer for you. They can be.
Well, not to mention the past 2 seasons, we've seen something that we've never seen before these past 2 seasons, where a rookie tight end has been the number 1 overall tight end in that season with Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers. Interesting that trend could continue. We have Colson Loveland, who is probably the second tight end on his team in the Bears. We have Tyler Warren on the Colts, who a lot of people are raving about. Taking a guy like Pat Freiermuth, who I believe is in his 3rd or 4th season with Aaron Rodgers, who is not necessarily a guy who's known to throw to the tight end a lot. He had that one season with Jared Cook. He had Jermichael Finley early in the year, but I don't think that ever came to fantasy relevance. That is interesting to wait that long. And it's so interesting to look at a draft like that, to grab in the 6th round Pat Freiermuth in a draft where, again, I didn't draft a tight end in this draft because I already kept Trey McBride. I'll go grab a tight end for his bye week. I wasn't going to draft a tight end in this draft. But for someone to not draft a tight end, but then you have someone like Alvon, unfortunately, on auto draft, as he usually is, he has 3 tight ends on his roster. He grabbed Ferguson, Mark Andrews, and I forget who his starter is. I think David Njoku. No, George Kittle, sorry. I think he kept George Kittle. Like, those are 3 tight ends that I would easily take over Pat Freiermuth, right? So, like, that's the interesting part of the draft, is you kind of have to take into account in auto draft sometimes that some of these players are going to go way above where you think they're going to go, even if a team already has 2 tight ends. A third one might go.
One would argue in a dynasty league of this caliber, you should not have to account for an auto draft. However, we know our boy Alvon, and we literally called him.
I was going to say, he technically made an appearance.
We called him via FaceTime on the draft day. He was at a poolside villa with a bunch of honeys. We'll get past whatever that was out in Arizona. Whatever else was going on there was, but I mean, if I give a guy a pass for missing the draft, he's probably the one who's going to get it.
Well, you can give the guy a pass. We're 19 minutes into this podcast. I just need to, Alvon, please, hopefully you're listening. Hopefully you've actually taken some time into this league. You were poolside, man. You could put your phone up. You could turn the sounds on so you know when your draft is. I get that there's women around, but hey, there's nothing better than showing off a great fantasy roster to the women around you too. You know, it didn't look like there was anything impeding you doing a draft. Come on, man. What are we doing? You got 3 tight ends on your team. Last year you had 4 quarterbacks. You should have learned your lesson then.
Yeah, he carried 3 quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, actually, so wait, we do need to. This is a great time to mention this. We should mention I kept Jalen Hurts, and he kept Lamar Jackson. But after this auto draft that Elvon had, he texted the group and said, "Hey, Lamar Jackson is on the block. I need a running back." So, me seeing that, texting him immediately, I said, "Hey, man, here's Jalen Hurts and Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is going to be the starter for the Washington Commanders." He literally said, and I will show you the text, he said, "Bet." So I send him the trade. I get Lamar Jackson. He gets Jalen Hurts and Austin Eckler. Bada bing, bada boom. So that's where that came from.
Sometimes that's what it takes. Working a trade for a guy who like goes ghost for like a couple weeks, and then apparently just checks his sleeper inbox and just checks all his trade, and you see him all as the commissioner, you see him all funnel in. He's involved. It's just the inconsistencies. I will say, for a guy who season 1 was insistent on an all black team, but he drafted Sam Laporta because, quote unquote, we need a bookkeeper or an accountant. He's kept this consistent with his team in keeping an all-black team except his tight ends, because this now he has Kittle, Andrews, and Jake Ferguson as his tight ends, and the rest of his team is James Conner Black.
That's actually impressive.
He was Samoan.
That's absolutely impressive. I never even noticed that.
Yeah, he's like that that Indian like not like the So it's a good thing this is just for 10 guys. He lets me say the N-word on my birthday. If you guys didn't know.
Yeah, I know he does.
It's like the coolest thing about me. All right, so that's the draft was good. I don't know if you have any other notes.
What I was looking at, I'm curious because you're here, and this is the first time I'm really looking at this. You only I want to know what your keepers were. You only drafted one running back.
Yeah, so my running backs were. Did I even draft a running back?
You drafted Tajay Spears.
Well, yeah, Tajay Spears, and then I drafted. Thought I had another running back. All right.
I don't think it looks to me like you only drafted Tajay Spears.
So I held Tracy with the Giants, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, and Breece Hall.
All right.
Breece and
so
Kamara
you start with
being,
4, you end with 5. Okay.
Yeah, Breece and Kamara being my 1-2. But I am gonna stand by this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. Whatever. I do think that with what the Chargers have going on, I do think that Najee Harris is going to have an increase. I do think he is going to be better than he was in Pittsburgh. I think that he was playing with that 8-8 team, so he was playing as an 8-8 running back. I think he's going to go where it can be more exciting. It's a more exciting team. They've got more going on there with Justin Herbert rather than I'm going to use my acorn stair lift to get to the locker room Aaron Rodgers. I do think that there's going to be more going on there. So, like I said, Breece Hall and Alvin Kamara, even with the accelerated age of Kamara, he continues to be a producer in fantasy. I do think that Najee Harris, Tyrone Tracy, I just got him kind of hanging around. But, yeah, we'll kind of see what goes on. Actually, the only running back that I drafted in the league, I dropped.
Yeah, because he's on my IR now.
Yeah, because I dropped Tajay Spears. But, yeah, went a little heavy on some quarterbacks, kind of seeing what I got going on. Went a little heavy on tight ends, almost to spite Ian.
I don't blame you on that, though, because I think that's a good strategy in this kind of league, right? Like, if you don't have one of the top, I would say 4, maybe 5, if you count Burrow in there, you should take shots on quarterbacks, see who gets hot, right? Like you shouldn't have a guy that's just locked in your lineup. Like, I had Kyler Murray last year, who ended up being not a good lock-in every week. And same thing with tight end. Again, I had Trey McBride. I wasn't going to go and Trey McBride's locked in my tight end spot. But if you don't have, I would say, one of the top 3 with Kittle, McBride, and Bowers, go take a couple punts and play the matchup. Tight end is notoriously a position that you should stream against defensive matchups because that's just an extremely way to stream the position, you know?
You know, and just in reference to the league, for people who don't know the league, who might be listening, who might, years down the road, we're going to be like a dude perfect situation where we just are some guys hanging out and then we become super famous and rich and I get skinny again, which would be great. We got Stumpy is down in a box at the Brewers game, dub season.
Mm-hmm.
Following text message in the group chat from Drews, I got money put aside. I'm ready to hit a Packer game and a World Series game in the same weekend. I die, but I'll die happy.
I'm right there with him. And we are in two different spots. He would have to drive down to me for the Brewer game, and I would have to drive up to him for the Packer game. But I'm here for it because I was here in 2018 for that World Series, NLCS Game 7 against the Dodgers. And Christian Yelich hitting that first inning home run was one of the best feelings I've ever had as a sports fan. And I'm ready to feel that again.
Yeah, but the difference between you and him is when he's saying "I'll die happy," he's not like saying like he'll die of excitement. He's saying his liver, his testicles, and his brain will explode all in the same time, and that'll be it.
How have they not already? Anyway, last thing I wanted to mention about the draft. Jay, I want to shout out Jay. Not only for being a Vikings homer and taking J.J. McCarthy, but I think
after he dropped him. He dropped him,
yes,
and then
because he tried to sneak him onto the keeper. He kept him on the IR. He tried to sneak him onto the keepers. He took, I think, the most amount of rookies because he has J.J. McCarthy, R.J. Harvey, Cam Scadaboo, Trey Harris, Elijah Arroyo, Bill Krosky-Merritt, Isaac Tesla, and I think DJ Giddens is also a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. Like I'm only counting. I guess JJ's not a rookie, but I kind of count him as a rookie. I think there's only 4 players if you count JJ on his draft that aren't rookies. So shout out to Jay looking towards the future.
Perfect. Talking about the draft, looking towards the future, whatever. Jay, for what it's worth, we'll give him a hard time. He did have 2 dubs. He had 2 championships in the first 5.
Yeah.
Not retroactive, not part of what we had. That was the Wisco Disco Dynasty. Now we're the Pabst Interference. It's better now. So moving on from that, one thing I want to go through is one of my favorite things about fantasy football is fantasy football names. It's always been it's always been one of my favorite things. Lights Camara action, nothing but a Jimmy G thing, my ball Zach Ertz. You know, there's some excellent team names in here. Jay Jettas and the Hedgehog, Teal the Love, Ryan Teal, and Jordan Love.
He's got Jordan Love.
Show me them TDs. Kyrim job. That's a new one. Okay, good for you.
That's Travis, yeah.
Chaos Keepers, Vintage Stumpy Reserve, like the probably the guy who's got the most allocated bourbon or has moved the most allocated bourbon outside of work relations.
Every time I saw him at work, he was asking me if I had any bourbons. So, yes, that fits.
Crafty Ack and Cheese, which is great. Elvon sticking true to Team Angry Black Man, which is great. I got to give myself a pat on the back. They hit the second Bauer. I'm in love with that one, but I got to give it. So, the one that still gets me every time, and the consistency, I think, is key because Drew's, when I was at Festival, was always Festival Has Rats. And then I moved, and I had a new job at a restaurant, Mark's Eastside. He changed his team to Mark's Eastside Has Rats. And then when I announced I was moving back to Festival, he immediately changed his name back to Festival Has Rats. Just the
incredible commitment to the bit.
Incredible commitment to the bit. Incredible consistency. Like what can be said? The guy too. Like we cannot shorten or skimp on the fact that he rolls up as the last guy to the draft. Still on time. Got to point that out. He rolls up in his blue Honda Civic or Ford Focus or whatever. He's blasting music. He's got the big fluorescent reflective shields on. He waits in the car till the song finishes. He gets out of the car, finishes his roadie, and then gets his 18-pack of aluminum cans of Coors Lattes and brings them. Just phenomenal. Made a excellent, decadent veggie tray with dip, homemade. Oh, so good. Just what a phenomenal lead-in. The guy is he's a legend. You'll never get away from it. Like, we'll be talking about him for years. And when I say years, like 3 years from now when he dies, we'll talk about him after that. So with that being said, with the teams, the matchups we're looking at this week, people are still looking at making some drops, getting their rosters down to size. But the matches we have this week, a lot of them are fairly well matched within that, 58, 42, 40, 60. The ones I want to touch on right now, Teal the Love is got a 68% win chance with a 132-point projection over Ian's Show Me Them TDs at 108 for 32%. And on top of that, Vintage Stumby is projected 104 points, 31%, with me at 128 for 69%. Noise, 69.
Noise.
Snooch the nooch. We've got a lot of matchups in here, too.
This is one of the most, again, this is not a redraft league like most of my other leagues that I have. This is some of the most lopsided that I've seen a week one. Most of the other, again, this is right after the draft. Most of my other leagues are very within 55%. Like, to see all of these over that mark is quite interesting. I'm 60% over Crafty Yak and Cheese. Kyrim Job is at 58%. 57% Festival has Rats over J Jettas. Like,
57 to 43% is the closest we have. And typically you always see it 51, 52, 49, 48.
And that's only a 10-point projection mark, but that's pretty big for this kind of league. I'm surprised by that. But I'm curious to see how this week one shakes out.
We're coming in hot and heavy out of week one. I think we're going to have a lot of things are going to be put on the table. I've had a couple other drafts. I do a draft with my kid every year. It started, so this is I think the 4th year I've done it. So just a small league, 8 teams. I know a lot of people have things to say about 8 teams. It's more fun for the kids because you don't want them to have to draft the David Njoku's, the whatevers. You want to have every player on their team have the notoriety of a star. So having those drafts are always fun because you can have a stacked team, be real cheap buy-in. I got one other additional league where a friend of my wife is like, oh, my boyfriend loves sports and I want to learn. That's an 8-team league. And then I've got one in there that's a bot team. That's an auto draft. It's my wife's The Robot team, so I just use her email to make the team auto draft, and I'll just set the lineup.
Nice.
But again, and that one I got a terrible grade for. If I dip into that one, I went really all in on the free league, people that I don't usually play with, really nothing to go off of. I took kind of all the runs at players that I might not typically go for. I also ended up trading immediately after the draft. I traded Christian McCaffrey away because the San Francisco hottie, as the one girl in the league said, she wanted to take it. So we're talking, and I love picking guys that I don't have in any other league. I love picking guys that you like in those cheap leagues where you're like, well, let's just see what happens. So Burrow, Chuba Hubbard, Genty, Ladd McConkey. Actually, Ladd McConkey was part of the trade. It was Chuba Hubbard and Ladd McConkey for Christian McCaffrey. So just moving some things around. Jackson, JSN, that's my boy. You gotta have him. That's my Jigba. So and went with Henderson again. Got Trey McBride. Travis Hunter is on my bench. Cam Scatabo, Javonte Williams, Jameson Williams. The guys I just don't draft. I'm like, huge risk, huge reward. ESPN, when they tell you you're like a C or below, you're always almost like a lock for the playoffs, which is awesome. Plus, I was fleece some kids. Speaking of shout out again to my team name, the Chupacabraj. So that's good there too.
Mean, if we're bragging about 8-team league drafts, I'm still in my festival work league from back in my festival days. This is one of the. I feel like I drafted against children. Superflex league, I got Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Okay, wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr. Running backs, Kyron Williams, Omarion Hampton. I got Travis Kelce at tight end. My bench is Dak Prescott, Travion Henderson, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, DeAndre Swift.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was a kicker that went in the second round. That draft felt way too easy to me. And again, shout out team names. Omarion, my wayward son. I feel pretty good about that one.
Love it. Not only just team names, league names. If Pabst Interference wasn't good enough, I have the Labatt's Blue Learner League. That's the one that I'm in. So,
attaboy.
Kyle, it's been great busting the mic out again. This is the first installment. This is our pre-season, pre-league, we'll call it our pre-podcast, our precast. We've got the socials out there, man. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We got email. All of it, Gmail, on all the socials. Yes, we are doing this for us. Yes, we're doing this for our league. However, you never know.
You never know. Pabst Interview everywhere that you want to go on social media.
We're talking blue ribbons, red zones for Pabst Interference. I'm Chad Coffin, the commish.
And I'm KO, Kyle Olson.
We'll see you next week.